Hi there. My name is Eric, and I'm with Driven Industries, and I want to thank you for joining us here today. And I'm going to be sharing with you one of the things that drives me in life. We're a company, and we're based on one big question, and that is, what drives you? We're all driven by different things. And one of the things that drives me is suicide awareness and mental illness. And this is a subject that has a lot of stigma around it. It has a lot of negativity around it, and I don't blame it. I mean, it's not a subject that anyone really out there wants to talk about or wants to admit that they've experienced until it really happens to themselves, and then it becomes a huge healing process. Suicide awareness is so big to me because suicide has touched my life, and it's touched my life twice. The first time it touched my life was in 2015 in August, and I lost my wife. We were separated at the time, and she ended up committing suicide. And I got a call from the Yuma County Sheriff's Department. I was in California at the time we were separated. Regardless of that, we were still best friends. And that was something nothing could have prepared me for. I've faced depression and felt depression before in my life. And we've all had those moments of, would I be better off dead? We have those little thoughts that cross our head. But actually having somebody do this was a completely different experience to me. It's something I couldn't have imagined. A lot of pain, a lot of almost guilt questions that came up. And it's a long healing process. And it was something that I was able to heal and grow through. And there was a reason I felt behind it. And in 2018 or 17, in August, my dad ended up committing suicide. And again, nothing could have prepared me for that. I never would have expected in my life that I would have had a wife and my father commit suicide. And they were so different people and different personalities that, especially with my dad, you never saw it coming. My dad was a doctor. He was a physician. He was very successful. There wasn't any stress on money or business or retirement, any of that. But yet he suffered internally so much that no one could see that it got to the point that he ended up taking his own life. My wife ended up taking her own life. It was about feeling as a burden, and it was such different experiences through both. My wife's, there was a lot of closure. She had left notes behind and actually kind of walked through of why and what happened. And with my dad, there was no closure. There was no notes. There was no, hey, this is how I feel and I want to share this. It was completely different. And through this, I really looked at it one big way. I could either self-destruct and close down, or I could turn this around. And I could use my story to help reach others, because I found so much that there's such a need to promote and talk about mental illness and mental health, that it is something real, that suicide is real. It's not something just in the TV shows. This happens every day. 22 vets a day commit suicide. That's veterans. That's military. These are people that served our country. You never know what somebody is going through internally, and you cannot see it. It's the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. It's right up there with diabetes, cancers. You cannot see these illnesses, but they're there. And I became more and more vocal about it. I got to the point where on my forearm I tattooed a tattoo of a semicolon. And the reason of the semicolon is when an author's writing a story and you hit a point that you can end the sentence, you either put a period. But if you want to continue on, you use a semicolon. And around it says your story isn't over yet. Because it's up to us and to help, and it's also up to the individuals that your story doesn't have to be over yet. It does get better. The support is there. The feeling like a burden, I understand. I've been there. I've felt the same way. And I've watched others who have been there that felt the same way and felt the need to, in a sense, eliminate that burden. And that's not the case. The more that we talk about this subject, the more awareness and positivity that there has to be around it. Because I look at my wife and my dad, they died, but it's not going to be for no reason at all. It's going to be to help motivate me to spread this message. You never know what the stranger next to you is going through. And as I realized with my tattoo, I started to bring awareness. And I would have people stop and ask me, what is that on your forearm? So I would start to tell them the story of my dad and my wife, and the reactions were very different because, as you can see here, I'm happy to talk about it. It's something that inside me ignites and I'm passionate about because I know that it can save lives. And I've had individuals who have responded amazingly positive, that have been able to share with me experiences of their family and of losses that they've had and have healing together. I've had individuals actually end up talking to me about mental illnesses and different types of treatments. I'm not a doctor, but I've been through a lot. And it's all about finding tools. And I've also had families that look at me and think I'm completely insane. And that's all right too. Because it's all about bringing awareness. Because again, that stranger next to you never know what they're going through. Because nobody ever wears a sign that says, help, help me. And as I got more active on social media with our company and promoting of suicide awareness and mental health, I started to really even dive in more and to do more research of, there's institutions out there that can help you and there's different programs that can help you, but what is even the follow after that? Because a temporary fix isn't a permanent fix. That's why I call it temporary. So how do we make it a permanent fix? And it's being involved in each other's lives. It's the support out there that afterwards you still know that you're not alone. And it's being able to get a lot of what you feel is the burden inside of you out. I've learned that the most powerful tool that we have is listening. And I get it in these videos, I talk a lot. But the biggest key is to listen in return. And I love when individuals reach out to me on Twitter. I do this every day, let everyone know if you're hurting, mentally, with sobriety, with depression, to reach out, because sometimes even a stranger is the best person to reach out to and the easiest to. From personal experience, I found it challenging sometimes to go to a doctor. Very anxiety built up, a lot of emotion around it built up. Because I knew something was wrong and I didn't want to continually be told that something was wrong. I wanted to just be able to get it out. With my father and with my wife, they felt that they were such a burden to the ones around them that they wanted the pain and the suffering to stop. But because it was never really shared, they never realized that the ones around them weren't suffering and that wanted to help them. And so many people that I've ran into, they ask this big question of why didn't they help? Or why didn't they reach out? And why didn't they tell me that they were suffering? Unfortunately, I hate to tell you, in my experience, that's not how it works. That's not how our brains work. They're in so much pain that they don't want to reach out, not because they don't want the help. It's because they don't want to hurt you or they don't want to hurt their close friends. And they want it to stop. And so I've learned with putting these out on social media, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and share with me experiences, and people get a lot off their chest when it comes to how they feel. And when you do share, there's a lot of healing and a lot of changes even in your brain that happen, knowing that it is okay, that you're not alone. Even at the time of when you're in that deepest, darkest hole of depression, you may feel that you're alone. You may be forced into treatment. You may be forced into a psych ward. And I can tell you this, I've learned from, again, personal experience that forcing any of this upon somebody not only doesn't get us the results that we want, and sometimes it can do some of the negative. But you need to check on your friends. You need to really have those sit-down conversations with them and be involved in their lives and what's happening. Because you can see such subtle changes happen in their life of them shutting down. Some of the experiences that I had, I'm a very big music fan, and one of the bonds that my wife and I had was music. And we would share songs back and forth. Well, the music that she started sharing with me was very suicidal, kind of coming to an end songs. There's different signs that they do reach out. And the hard part is we look back and we go, oh my God, the signs were there and we missed them. But it's being involved and active on a daily basis that you truly start to realize if somebody's suffering or not, and always being there for them and having that open line of communication, letting them know that they're not a burden. So that's one of the tools I really want to pass on to you that I've just learned out of personal experience. I've met a lot of individuals that have been to the point where they wanted to commit suicide. And they were able to pull themselves out, but again, in their stories, they pulled themselves out. It wasn't pulled out of them. And that's what you have to remember. All we can do is give our love and support along the way. So one of the things that I ended up doing amongst this is I wanted to get as much knowledge as I could because of this hurt and this pain and individuals not reaching out to family. And it's all about awareness and that we know what's happening and we know the situation. We actually come up with solutions for it. And one of the biggest to me was the suicide hotline, because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And it wasn't really until the end of April, beginning of May, that our company took this very hands-on approach on social media. And one of the things that I found was that a lot of people would repost these numbers. If you're hurting or if a friend's hurting, share this number with them. And one of them is a suicide hotline. And I never thought about it. I never wanted to call this number because to me, especially, and I feel the same as with everybody I've shared this with, calling the suicide hotline is a lot like calling 911. We call 911 when an emergency is happening, and what happens? Somebody picks up, 911, what is your emergency? That is the immediate response that we get. There's another human being on the other side. And when you see this suicide hotline, what I initially thought was, I don't want to call this because somebody's going to pick up. And what happens if I take an opportunity away from somebody else calling this hotline? And I met an individual and they said, why haven't you ever called it to at least know if it's your passion? Why don't you find out even more information about it? So I did. And the Suicide Prevention Hotline Network, I believe, is a great tool, and it's definitely needed. Because as I just talked about, reaching out and talking to a stranger is sometimes one of the greatest things that can be done for healing-wise, because this non-judgmental person, that the individual that's suffering, we don't have that connection as a family member or as a friend. So what you tell me isn't going to hurt me, because I realize and believe so much that there's so much hurt and pain around that you don't want to pass that on to your family. So I saw the suicide hotline number continually popping up. And again, this is a great resource and tool to have. But I was very shocked by what happened when I called. The suicide hotline, when I Google it, it's 1-800-273-8255. And if you start to cross-reference that to all the numbers you see, that's what the number is. So I decided to call it. And it shocked me. This is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. And I want you to be aware of what happens. I want to paint a picture for you. You're in a car, and you're on a road, and you're by yourself. And you have a knife in your hand. You're not going to reach out. You're not going to call your family members. You're not going to call your kids. You're not going to call any of your friends. You've isolated yourself. And if there was any moment of clarity and you wanted to reach out for a stranger, or you wanted to reach out and talk to somebody, you pick up the phone and you dial this line. You have this knife in your hand. And there's a brief moment of clarity that possibly somebody could listen and change your life. And you decide to call this number. I want you to hear what they're going to hear.
You have reached the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, also servicing the Veterans Crisis Line. Para español, oprime el número 2. If you are in emotional distress or suicidal crisis, or are concerned about someone who might be, we're here to help. Please remain on the line while we route your call to the nearest crisis center in our network. A Attention! If you are a U.S. military veteran or current service member or are calling about one, please press 1 now to speak with the Veterans Crisis Line.
"40 seconds. Over 40 seconds you'd be sitting on the phone trying to get a hold of an individual to be able to talk to and to be able to share with. And I believe that is too long. I was blown away by these results. I was blown away by this call. This was not what I had expected. And I believe we can do so much more to be able to help somebody, because to me this is an emergency just like you would call 911 for. And I wanted to share this with you and to get this message across, because so many of us don't know. You don't know that your friend that you pass this number along to who's suffering, sitting inside their car with a knife, is hearing this. I personally don't think that is all we can do. I think we can do a lot more. I think we can do a lot better. I think this is something that does need to change. I'm very passionate. One of my big passions now about this, and I get a little emotional talking about it, my hands start shaking even, is that there's so much more we can do. We can have another voice at the end of the line. A change that I would love to see is somebody picking up saying, "Hi, my name is Eric. Thank you for calling and what's going on, and share with me." Instead of somebody sitting on hold for over 40 seconds to get the phone just to ring. I believe it's a great resource and a great tool, and I believe it's somewhere that you can be referenced off to if you're calling for tools or for insight, or if you're calling for non-emergency support. Great way to go. But if you're in that heat of the moment, and the reason I bring that moment up is that was the moment my dad was in. And I think to myself, if he called that number, I don't think it would have made a difference. But I do think if he picked up and there was a voice at the end of the line that was willing to comfort and to listen and give him support, there was a chance that there could have been a possible outcome difference. And I don't blame anything. I don't know if he called or not. In fact, I know he didn't. Looked at the phone records. But who out there did? Who out there could have been saved? And that's what my drive and my passion is all about, and something I want to bring big awareness to. Because this is one of the biggest tools that I see everybody pass along, is this number. But no one knows what happens when you call the number. I think that when you pick up, it should be, "Hi, my name is Eric, and I'm here to help and listen and support and guide. How can I help you, man? You're all right. You got me. I'm here for you. I got you." Awareness on the subject is so important. To talk about it is so important. And when you see these 5K runs and these different demonstrations for it, it's important. There's tons of different resources out. I'm going to list below a couple of the resources in this video that I really believe in and that I have a passion for. A part of my business is driven by a cause. It's wearing a shirt with the semicolon on the back that says "Your story isn't over yet." Just for somebody to say, "Hey, what is that?" I guarantee you, if you face depression or you thought about suicide or you've had suicide touch you, you probably know what it is. You'd be surprised how many people out there have the semicolon tattoos and the movement that's started behind it. It brings great awareness. And it's all about continuing that awareness and growing upon it and sharing it. Because the more and more we talk about it, the more and more everyone feels and realizes that it's okay to not be not okay. It's okay to say I'm depressed. It's okay to say I'm suffering. It's not okay for it to be the 10th leading cause of death. It's not okay to be scared to talk about it. It's not okay to be bullied about it. Bullying is another huge passion of mine that's growing movement of halting that in our schools. Because let's face it, mental illness and mental health is extremely important. And bullying is something that can help change somebody's life to the negative or to a positive if it's not there. So I really wanted to share that message with you and share my experience a little bit more in detail with you to help bring up the awareness of what it's all about and why we bring awareness to it and why it's so important to erase this stigma. If you're out there and you're listening to this and you're suffering, pick up the phone. Heck, shoot me a message. You'd be surprised how many people have through Twitter and through Facebook that have hit me up saying, "I'm suffering. I need somebody to talk to." You get my phone number right away. call me. I'll call you. Give me your number. And let's just talk. Get it out. Let me listen to what you have to share. Let me listen to the pain, because this is a whole beginning of healing, is getting it out. And now our brain starts to process what we're going through, and then naturally starts to process, how can we maybe change this? And there's so many other tools out there, and there's so many resources out there that you don't have to suffer silently. You don't have to suffer alone. And I'm proud of every individual out there. If you're out there and you're making a difference and you're spreading the word about suicide, and it's all right to talk about it, I applaud you. I give you my heartfelt applaud, because that is awesome and it's so needed. And if you want to make a difference, let us know. I'll share with you resources and tools of where you can be active and where you can participate to be a force and a voice in this cause. Again, we're built as a company of what drives you. And one of the things that drives me is suicide awareness. And I hope that you see the passion, the fire that I have for this. And I want to make a change. I want to make a change on this phone number. And I want to make a change in the way that we communicate. We talk about depression, we talk about anxiety, and we talk about suicide. And it's all about baby steps, and it's all about movement and momentum. And I believe together that we can create that. One of my biggest goals right now is to get that number changed. That when you call it, you hear a voice at the other end saying, I'm here for you, I have your back, tell me what's going on. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you got something out of this. And I hope that if this is something you're really passionate about like I am, let me know. Put it in the comments section. Come to our website and visit, and share with us your tools, your experience, and your passion and desire for it. Find us on Twitter. It's Driven Industries. And share with me that power inside you, that voice inside you. And let's keep this movement going, and let's keep it as strong and growing as possible. Because so many people are suffering, they don't have to. But those of us who want to be active, we need to be active. We need to support, and biggest of all, we need to listen. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching this. And I look forward to seeing what we do down the road. And I look forward to seeing the changes that we make. Again, I'm Eric, and I'm with Driven Industries. Let me ask you, what drives you? I want to thank you for watching. Make sure you click the subscribe button and check out our channel for more videos.